Well, hello there, folks. How are you? It's lovely to see you again as usual, and thank you very much for popping over just to see what I made for tea last night. And it was this wonderful meat and potato pie. I hope that you are having a smashing day. But if you're new and this is your first time here, my name's Cheryl. This is What's for Tea, and it is just what I made for the tea last night. So I'm going to quickly run you through this wonderful and quite stunning looking pie. But you know, it does look quite impressive, but that lattice on the top is actually a lot easier to do than you would actually think. So I'm using puff pastry today, but you could use short crust or whatever you like, just as long obviously as you know, make sure it's a savoury pastry because it's a savoury pie. All of the ingredients along with their weights will be in the description box underneath the video as usual, and it's a very humble pie, this one. It's just finely diced beef and onions, and you've got some beef stock in there, salt and pepper, and also potatoes. Meat and potato pie is a very English thing, but my gran used to make something quite similar. She called it stovey pie because it's, you know, it's just like Scottish stovies baked into a sort of puff pastry case. So yeah, she used to call it stovey pie, but whatever you call it, it's absolutely delicious. So like I said, if this is your first time here, why not consider subscribing just before you go? It would be lovely to see you again. So let's get right into it. So you're going to need quite a big pan because everything will get done in this pan. So put some oil in the bottom, get it nice and hot, and we're going to sear our beef. So you want this bite size or just under bite size. Now some people just boil their beef in water. I feel as though, you know, doing it this way, it's going to give you bags more flavour, and it stops you having to put a whack of flour in at the end to thicken it up, because it will be thick enough. So pop your beef into some seasoned plain flour, a wee bit of salt and pepper into your plain flour, and just give it a good toss around. This is going to, you know, protect your beef from the high heat, and also, like I said, thicken your gravy at the end. So I just like to do these kinds of things this way. So just make sure it's well browned all over, and you don't need to lift it out or anything. We're just going to then pop our onions in once you're happy. So I was happy with this. Now don't worry if it catches on the bottom, because that's where all your flavour is, and this will eventually all lift off and go into your gravy. So pop in your onion, give it a good stir around, and you put in a good pinch of salt, because this is going to draw the moisture out of your onions and let your onions sweat. So you want to, you know, let this cook for about 5 minutes, because you just want to soften your onion up. You don't need to add any more oil or anything to this. After 5 minutes, give it another good stir, and we're going to pop in our stock. So I've got 500 ml of beef stock here, and that's around about 16 fluid ounces, give or take. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to pop in a good glug of Worcester sauce, but you could add Henderson's relish if you prefer. It's very similar. So pop a dash of that in. Again, give it a good stir around. Now you want to simmer this on as low as possible until your meat is tender, and it could take you about 2 to 3 hours, but yeah, do make sure it's nice and tender. Go back once in a while and just give it a wee stir around. Now these were the pie tin that I was going to use, but I decided to do a deep fill pie. So I got out my heavy duty loose bottom tin. Yeah, and this is the one that I ended up using because I did want a nice deep pie. But if you want a smaller pie, obviously you can use the other ones. I'll leave those linked underneath. Those are in my Amazon store. And I'm going to be using 2 ready rolled sheets of puff pastry. I just gave this a wee roll out with a rolling pin just to make it a bit thinner, because we're not going to blind bake this. We're just going to put the filling straight in. So do make sure your pastry is nice and thin. And once it's nice and neat and into all your nooks and crannies, just remove the excess with the back of a knife all the way around. It's super simple. Just like this. Just make sure your knife, you know, you're not using the serrated edge. Do use the back edge. Pop that into the fridge for the time being, and your other roll we're just going to cut into strips. This is for the lattice top. Now you can do your strips however thick you like them. The thinner you do them, the more strips obviously you're going to have for the top, and it's going to look a bit more intricate. The bigger you make your strips, you know, it's going to look bigger and chunkier. So I decided to go with quite thin strips this time. And again, pop those into your fridge with the pastry case. So go back to your filling, and once it's nice and tender, this had 3 hours. Now we're going to add the potatoes. Some people cook the potatoes separately. I don't see the point in doing that. I like to put potatoes for these kinds of things directly in with the meat, because as the potatoes cooked, you know, they're going to soak up all that lovely flavour. Plus it saves you having to use a second pan. So you just want to leave this cooking until your potatoes are tender. It'll probably take you another 10 or 15 minutes depending on the size of potatoes. Mine took 15 minutes and that's it, done. That's your filling done. But you just want to let this cool quite a bit because you don't want this going into your pastry case, you know, scorching hot. So give it about half an hour to cool down. Once you're happy, you can get your pastry case out of the fridge and just pop your filling in. As you can see there, there's still a bit of steam, but like I said, it doesn't have to be cold. So just keep filling your pie and give it a wee smooth over at the top, just at the end, because we're going to be putting our pastry strips on top, so you don't want any potato bulging out and getting in the way. And I used all of my mixture. There was nothing left in the bottom of the pan. As you can see, just perfect. So now you want to grab your pastry strips out of the fridge and just moisten the edge of your pie with some water, and this will just help the pastry strips stick to the edge of your pie. So all the way around. And then you just want to pop on your pastry strips. You can do these as far away from each other or as close to each other as you like. So all the way across, and then to get your lattice top, you just want to lift up every second strip, pop another strip going the other way, and then when it comes to your next row, you want to lift up your first strip, and then every second one after that. And then just keep repeating that until you're all the way down to the bottom. I mean, look how easy that is. And once it comes out of the oven, you know, it just looks so cool. I love the effect of a lattice top. And once you're happy, just go around your whole pie and squeeze that pastry, you know, squeeze it onto the top with your hands. And then just cut away your excess again, just with the flat edge of a knife, just to get the wee bits that are hanging down. And that's you done. The last thing we have to do is glaze the top. Now you can use milk if you don't want such a shiny top. You can use all of the yolk if you want, you know, a really deep, rich colour. I just like to use the whole egg and a wee splash of milk and just brush the entire top. Now you're going to bake this for just under an hour in the middle of your oven, and halfway through cover it with foil because you don't want it to burn. But because it's such a deep filled pie, you know, it's quite a low temperature, but do make sure you put some foil over the top halfway through and it will be beautifully cooked. You know, your pastry will not be raw. As you can see, it's absolutely perfect. But do put it in the middle, you know, the middle of your oven, not near the top, because like I said, you don't want this to brown nice and evenly all the way around, and you don't want any raw pastry. You can see there, that's not a hole, that's just where the pastry was sort of flapped over in the tin as it was cooking. So I was super chuffed with this one. But again, let this cool for about 10 to 15 minutes if you can, because it's going to be volcanic inside, and that will just easily slip off the bottom of your tin there. Now it's up to you obviously how many portions you get out of this. That'll depend on how big you make your wedges. I reckon you can get 6 really good portions out of this. Yeah, but like I said, it's up to you and how big you make them, but it's absolutely beautiful inside. You can serve this with additional gravy, but as you can see, mine's is lovely and moist and so gooey, and I had to sit it down because it just wanted all to spill out. But if you find yours is a bit, you know, it's a bit dry, you can obviously serve this with, you know, gravy if you want. And we did have chips in the oven, but they weren't ready yet. So I've just popped out the mushy peas on the side. Yeah, that was wonderful. A big thank you as usual to the supporters of the channel over on my Patreon page and to the channel members here on YouTube as well. And a warm welcome to Peter O, who is the latest patron there. And that's just me saying goodbye to you if you're leaving at this point. So yeah, highly recommended you give that one a go. It is a wee bit time consuming. Obviously, you need to let your beef cook properly, and I would let it get super tender before you add the potatoes. But yeah, it's beautiful. Or even if you didn't want to serve it in the pastry case, you know, even that on its own, just the filling was absolutely delicious. If you're not following me over on Instagram yet, I'm What's for Tea 3 over there, and it'll be lovely to see more of you. So I'm going to go off now and wish you a wonderful rest of your day until I see you again, which is going to be for my shopping haul, I reckon, and then back on Sunday as usual for meals of the week. So from our wee humble kitchen in Scotland to yours wherever you are, take care, lots of love, and bye for now. Bye now.